Hello, my name is Cynthiaaliceanderson, and I'm the owner and founder of the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. We are now completing 3 years of being on the air, and I wanted to personally thank you for all of your support. As a listener, as you share the podcast on your social media pages, and for your financial support. We would not be where we are today without this amazing support, which is in over 80 countries and 150,000 downloads worldwide. So I thank you, dear friend. I'm grateful we get to walk this journey together, and I cannot wait to see what we're able to do in another 3 years. Thank you again, dear friend, and blessings on the journey.
Supportek Staffing presents The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 157, All is One. And now your host, Reverend Cynthiaaliceanderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthiaaliceanderson. I'm the host, and I'm here in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 157 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. Thank you so much for joining us, and we are really, really happy to have you. And as always, happy Monday. Welcome to the middle of June.
Yes, happy Monday, friends. We're always glad to have you with us. We hope and pray that you are living life to the fullest and that our show is a part of that. You know, our goal always is to help you grow, prosper, and evolve. And we are honored, really, to be a part of your journey. And we know we've been hearing from our listeners and our viewers through YouTube how much the show is meaning to you. So we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for listening, and you know, we're happy to bring you the show. And it's hard to believe we're almost at the 3-year mark. We just realized only a couple more shows, and we'll be at 3 years. So it's hard to believe, friends. So thank you for all your loving support.
So much has changed in the last 3 years. You're now teaching full-time, giving seminars and classes and recordings, and how has that been, that whole journey for you? Because I know it's just really blowing up.
It has been, and you know, the work I'm doing around the country is really inspiring me because so many people are really desiring to grow. They really are excited spiritually, and they want spiritual awakening. And so that I get to be any small part of that, you know, is really lovely. And I'm also having some wonderful work relationships. You know, I'm going to be working more with John Stringer, who's not only a great musician, he's becoming also a great speaker. And also working with John Two Hawks, you know, the great flutist. I mean, his music, he did the soundtrack for like Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. And, you know, the guy's, I guess it's Grammy nominated, and, has had quite a career. And then, you know, even getting to share time with Reverend Leilani Burt in Phoenix, you know, for that retreat. So yes, things are going really well. And I know our listeners will echo this, that everybody's tired of being alone. So the retreat idea sounds really, really good. I can honestly... go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we have an interview with John Two Hawks coming up in August. So be on the lookout for that, for our interview with John Two Hawks. Oh, yeah, that's going to be great. And, we just had such great time together. And NPR just did a special on him in the local newspaper. So we're getting a lot of attention for our retreat. And the Orlando retreat, by the time this airs, will probably be full. And it's not until October. You know, we sold, the first 10. I think the first 10 people registered in the first 2 days. It wasn't even on my website. I just mentioned it on Facebook, and my private messenger, was kind of going off. Now, let me give you a credit card. And so I had no idea how excited people would be for retreats. So I had capped the retreat in Orlando at 30, and I'm going to have to move it to 40 because we're almost at 30 now. So the retreat center was great and said, yep, we can move you on up. Just let us know. So that's great. So it looks like we'll have between
minimum 30 to 40. We could hold as many, I think, as 50, but I thought they were limited. So we put out, limit 30. And then when everything sold, I called the retreat center. She said, I'll make it happen. So the cool thing about Orlando is the retreat center has been renovated, and it's completely changed. The food is incredible. The hiking trails have been refurbished. So I think people will be really happy at the energy and the care they've taken with the rooms and the facility itself. There's even a large fire pit where I'm sure at night we'll do a drumming and then even go into silence. So it's going to be a really special spiritual time for sure.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and I'm excited to, on some level, be a small part of all of that. But I do enjoy. I do enjoy participating and doing everything we do here on the channel.
Yes, absolutely true. Well, and you are, Dave, most certainly. And some of you may notice some of the shows, Dave is not on, and we're both very busy professional people, and we enjoy our work together. And you're going to hear probably others in the future where it's just me. Well, that's just a product of me being on the road and him being busy as well. But we are together in the studio as much as possible. But I also love when I can record on my own and be out in the field. So we're going to hear more of those interviews as well.
Yeah, do you be like with John and we recently rolled the interview with John McClain and it's just not everybody can come to Orlando and there's also something about being in the physical space with someone else, and so the idea that you can take a little hand recorder and go to Nashville or go where John Two Hawks is. There's a different energy there. And I love technology in the way that we've been able to connect, especially, with all the pandemic stuff. But absolutely, teach a woman to fish and she'll eat forever.
Watch out. Yeah. Well, we're really excited too, because we didn't even mention, we just had a great interview as well with Gregory O'Connor, the producer. I mean, is a Hollywood producer. I mean, the guy has had some major films with major actors, and he himself.
Yeah, that's coming up in August.
Yes,
as well.
yes. That's August as well. So for our listeners, we've really gone the distance in bringing in new people. So you may see some changes in the future, but just know the goal is to bring quality programs. And we want to do that in the best way possible. And we're doing an awful lot right now. So you will see some changes. I'm reaching out to our listeners and our financial supporters as well to see, which shows are more important to them. So if that's something you want to let us know, because we are going to make a few changes in the channel coming up, but we feel they're God guided. And as always, we're always looking to spirit for what is ours to do, Yeah,
you can head over to experienceofthesoul.com/contact and let us know your thoughts of the channel, shows you like, or maybe if you have any suggestions, if you have any topic suggestions or something that maybe questions for Cynthia Alice, please let us know. experienceofthesoul.com/contact.
For some reason that made me chuckle. I don't want to do another Stump the Minister on live. Somebody reached out the other day and said, my favorite talk was Stump the Minister. I was like, somehow that title has always been weird. But anyway, so we do have a great show planned for you today. That was a 10-minute warm-up. But Dave, tell us the title of today's show, if you will.
The show title for today is All is One. All is One.
All is one. Yeah. So I want to just let that sink in for a moment. All is one. I am amazed at what you can feel energetically through the airwaves when we go to center with an idea. All is one. All is one. So simple and yet so profound. All is one. We often have questions from people that grew up on the Bible. I often get comments on my YouTube page. One woman said, "What is this? Is this Christianity? What is this?" All is one. That's what it is. All is one. We don't need a label. because all is one. All is one. What does this mean? Well, Jesus said this, the Father and I are one. You are in me as I am in the Father. Think about that. The Father and I are one. You are in me as I am in the Father. All is one. This is not some New Age concept. This is grounded in our Holy Scripture, in the scriptures of many world religions. All is one. And see, I think we have forgotten that the goal of all religion, which the word religion, by the way, means to bind together. We have forgotten that the whole point is to bind us together in love, right? We're really busy right now separating and saying who's right and who's wrong. And the political parties just won't let it go. We've still got to be in a fight about that. Vaccine people and anti-vaxxers and race against race. Friends, all is one. You cannot be against something and not be against yourself. Think about that. All is one. If I'm against you, then I am against me. It is that simple. So what does it mean, all is one? It's so simple, but I'm gonna unpack it because our ego, meaning the personality of us, always wants to figure that out. It wants to argue and say, that's too simple. What does that mean, all is one? When somebody's doing something over here, that doesn't have anything to do with me. Well, actually, it does. Actually, it does. So we are living in a time where we're good at drawing lines and separating. So let me ask you this. When we're thinking about even ourselves, just ourselves, in relation to God, to Spirit, to the God of our understanding, we often say God is known in, through, and as us, right? And some people say, oh, we're not God. I say, well, isn't God omnipresent? Yes. Well, if God's omnipresent, how can I not be God? It's the same concept, right? So years ago, I was taught a concept that really helped me understand all is one. And I was at the ocean with one of my teachers, and he took a glass and he dipped it in the ocean and said, is this the ocean? He held up the glass, with ocean in it. Is this the ocean? I said, yes. He said, but wait, is that the ocean over there with, the waves crashing? Yes. So what's the difference? I said, oh, just the container. He said, exactly. Exactly. So this can be fully ocean in this little container called you or me. You can be God in these little containers called the human body, called male and female or non-binary human. It doesn't matter what you call it, within it is God. And you say, well, why aren't they acting like it? Good question. Good question. But all is one. See, friends, all is one. So when I'm saying all is one, I'm meaning, yes, we are one with God. We are one with all. And our listeners, I am one with you. You are one with me. Which means anything you think impacts me. Anything I think impacts you. Anything we do acts as a ripple effect. It goes out from us in a vibrational pattern. And so it's funny, many people that follow us follow Abraham Hicks. And, the idea that everything is vibration is new to some people, but what it means is that every word we say, every thought we think, every action we do has with it an energetic vibrational reality. For instance, we know that love and hate have different vibrational realities. All of us have come into a room and gone, uh-oh, I'm leaving. Something weird just happened, or a big argument just happened here. I know, because I've asked thousands of people, have you ever walked into a room and known there was an argument and every hand goes up? Well, did somebody spell out argument on a board somewhere? No. How did you know? You felt it. You felt it. Right? So that's what I mean. Words we say set up an energetic vibration. And so we know anger. We also know, like, have you ever walked into a cathedral or a church and went, oh, I feel so connected to God here. I just feel the presence of God, or I feel the presence of love. And of course, we would all say yes. We would all say yes. So see, we are energetic beings. We are connected to each other and to God. And this is important, and we're doing this as a topic because this needs to wake up in us. Like, come on, wake up. So all of this talking we're doing about everybody else, we're only talking about us. I want you to really take that in. All the blaming, you're really only blaming you because there's only one. There's only one. All is one. All is one. You know, I was guest speaking at a church recently. It was Seattle Unity. And the church is really special to me because that's where I found Unity. And then shortly after that, went to ministerial school. I mean, within the first year of going into Unity, I got so excited. I was like, okay, yep, okay, I found it. Let's go to school. But anyway, I went back there to speak. And part of the announcements that Sunday was an announcement about a specific outreach program. And I was really inspired by it because a lot of churches don't do very much outreach, especially in Unity. And I have always felt the spiritual mandate to be a part of the greater, community. And so when they told me what they were doing for outreach, at the end of my message, well, so there was announcements, and then I did my message. And then after my message and meditation, they wanted to do a little Q&A with me. And they asked me about my programs and everything. And I said, well, before I do that, can I just say that I was inspired and I'd like to donate back my speaking fee to your outreach? And they were like, what? And I said, yeah, I just really believe in what it is you're doing. And, I know that when I help others, I know I'm helping myself. There is no other. But I felt really guided to do it. And at the time, my ego was kind of fighting it a little bit. Do you guys ever do that where something's the right thing to do, but that your ego goes, are you sure you want to be that generous? Well, what was so funny is later that night, not within 24 hours, somebody bought my most expensive program that I offer. And it was 90% over what I had just paid back to the church. Is that crazy? So what I love about that is nobody could have figured that out logically, but I know all is one. So when I give somewhere, I need to be expecting to receive because that's how the universe works. Like I don't give over here and then not receive because all is one. It didn't matter that I gave in Seattle and I received in Orlando. All is one. All is one. So just feel into that for yourself. All is one. I want you to think about all your Facebook posts. I want you to think about all your conversations with friends and loved ones. Are you remembering all is one? All is one. So what I know is when I breathe into that, it changes everything in the way I think. It changes all my separating thoughts. It changes my need to be right. Everything falls away and I go, yes. There is enough for everyone. All is one. I get it now. Right, like it, but you have to breathe it in. It's not a head experience. You can't just think about it. You have to open your heart and feel all is one. If you're on the subway in New York right now, riding the train, I want you to look around and think, all is one. In a crowded airport, all is one. It will fundamentally change the way you experience life. Those 3 words, all is one. So feel into that, friends. We're going to be back. We have a short break. We'll be back right after these brief messages.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partners, Supportek Staffing. Supportek Staffing is an innovative staffing agency built on the principle of caring about employers and employees as they navigate these new workforce and workplace challenges. If you're an employer, they want to be your human resource partner and help with the changes needed during the pandemic. If you're a candidate, they want to become your lifelong career agent to help you grow into your fullest potential. Supportek prioritizes support over volume, integrity over profits, and will treat your business and your career as if it was their own. You can learn more at supportekstaffing.com. That's SUPPORTEK staffing.com. We now return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthiaaliceanderson.
Welcome back. We're glad you're with us, and I hope that you were breathing into all is one during the break. And I'm hoping that you're resonating with this. I'm reminded that we talked about this idea, not exactly in these words, but we talked about this idea before, and we revisited it a little bit when we had Reverend John McLean on from Unity of Nashville. And I just wanted to focus in very intently on those 3 words, because there's so much right now that is vying for our attention, and I believe that we are getting radicalized in our viewpoints, and that is extremely dangerous, because then when people don't agree with us, we demonize them, and then we're in an us versus them dynamic. And I did a talk recently for Unity of Nashville called Us versus Them and the Price of Hate. And I have a deep concern about how separating our politics, our language, and even our religion is at this time. And everyone is pointing to, historical documents, religious documents that say why, these points are good and right and everyone else is wrong. So now, saying this, I'm not saying that there's not a right and wrong, but what I'm saying is you may not have the whole truth. And so when we can walk through life with a higher awareness and perspective, we eventually get to all is one. Because we know whatever we do to another, we're doing to ourselves. The Christian scriptures are very, very clear. It says, love your enemies. And I don't see that anywhere in our culture right now. Even in the religious right, I don't see it. So, breathe, just be aware of that. Where is that message? Well, what I can tell you is if we don't live from all is one, we're destined to die as a civilization. That is not an overreaction to what we're seeing. We're headed for civil war at the moment. All is one. And the fear seems to be about what we don't know. So what if even when you see somebody hating you or hating what you represent, just think, all is one. This is a high idea. But it is what got us through the civil rights movement. You know, that ultimately you are my brother, you are my sister. All is one. You know, in my family, you know, we have, I have quite a history. I often jokingly say we put the fun in dysfunctional, but there were some wonderful things I learned growing up in my family. And, you know, growing up in the South, it was unusual to have a family that was not openly and outwardly racist. And my grandfather was the first in the area to sell land to people of color. And I grew up in the first integrated church in Georgia, where my godfather was the minister. My godfather, who would read me theology books when I was in a crib. And so, and my dad, you know, his best friend was a black man who was at the house almost every day. And his daughter and myself were in Girl Scouts together. I was the only white in my Girl Scout troop, and my mom was the leader. So I learned early on that, you know, you are my brother, you are my sister. It wasn't based on race or even class. It was based on, hey, we're all, you know, part of this community. We didn't all go to the same church. Most of us went to the same school, but we were connected because we were human and we were in the community and because our parents were friends. All is one. And, you know, growing up, I certainly knew that was, you know, my life. I didn't 100% realize other people weren't that way until I got older, and looking back, it was like, oh, that was different. But we were always connected to the community as a whole. Because we knew this was to be a neighbor. You know, it wasn't anything so highfalutin as all is one. It was just like, hey, we're in this community together. You know, what do you need? Somebody brought over greens. Somebody else helped at somebody else's house. If it got to be too big of a job, money changed hands. If not, it was helping each other out. It's what you did, you know. But there seemed to be a mutual respect. There seemed to be an energy of camaraderie, of friendship, of love, of acceptance. You could be a little quirky and that'd be just joked about, not judged, not ostracized, you know. One of the funny things of my childhood, we did a lot of work on our home. I grew up in my parents' dream home because, well, I have to go back a ways to tell this, but my parents loved children, and they had this idea of a dream home, and they didn't really have much money, you know. So my dad was working 2 and 3, sometimes 4 jobs, you know, with all the kids. And so he was like working a sales job during the day, and then at night he apprenticed to be a diamond cutter and became a jeweler and a diamond cutter. But what he would do at night is he would bring home paper bags from the store, and they would draw out literally the plans for their dream home on a brown paper bag, you know. And so the home I grew up in was that house. They were constantly building it because there was constantly more people anyway. So we always had friends over, and one particular friend that was my dad's good friend, my brother's teacher, was Mr. Willie, who I grew up with kind of as a second dad. Well, one day I was out there helping, and I wanted to be, like the guys working in the house. And so I climbed up the ladder, and Willie chewed Levi Garrett chewing tobacco. And I said, can I have some? And Mr. Willie looked over his glasses. Talked to my dad. He said, Bud, you reckon out to let Cynthia Alice have a little bit of this? He said, if she wants it. I'm telling you this story. I don't know why. And anyway, so I tried it. I took a big old wad of that stuff and I put it in my mouth. And the first thing I did was I said, I swallowed. And Willie said, whatever you do, don't swallow. I said, too late. And him and my dad had the biggest howl about that. They didn't say I was wrong for wanting it. They didn't say how weird it was. They didn't say girls don't do that. There was just some kind of acceptance about I had to have it. And I did not I said, I'm not going to get sick. And I did not, which they couldn't believe. They said, you must have an iron stomach. But they had a laugh about it. And there seemed to be this acceptance and this love and this kind of like, oh my God, what a kid you have here. Boy, she's going to be a handful, they were thinking. But they laughed about it together, and I laughed about it too. There was not this separation of kids and adults. All is one. We were all people at that moment. You see what I mean, friends? All is one. So in a way that was acted out without ever knowing that concept, all is one. All is one. So parents, think about how you're talking to your kids and think about all is one. Are you speaking to your kids the way you would another human, another adult? The answer probably is no. All is one. When you get this concept, it's going to start impacting the way you live. Think about how you treat the earth. Are you awake, aware? Are you, right? All is one. All is one. You don't want to pollute the earth. You don't want to, pour paint down throw it in the trash can before you've dried out the paint cans and all that. All is one. All is one. I'm giving you all these examples to all is one, so you see how it starts to impact everything. All is one. Do you talk to the people at AT&T and Spectrum thinking about all is one? However you talk to someone else is how you're talking to yourself. Remember that. The energy you're putting out in the world eventually comes back to you. All is one. You cannot help it. We are intimately connected. Quantum physics even shows us that now. What we believe spiritually, now quantum physics is proving with quantum theory. All is one. If you're doing an experiment, we've learned the observer of the experiment is fundamentally changing the cellular structure. All is one. Think about how profound and vast and yet how simple of a concept this is. All is one. If I'm ever talking about somebody else, I'm only talking about myself. However I'm judging somebody else, I'm only judging myself. All is one. However I give to the world, I'm only giving to myself. All is one. All is one. Our language, friends, betrays us. because our language is very, very limited when it comes to all is one. So I've learned to watch my words, to watch my language, and make sure that I'm not separating myself by the language I'm using to speak about others. All is one. All is one. So before you go to work the next day, before you talk to a spouse or a kiddo, try to have that in mind. All is one. See if that shifts anything for you. Really be in your heart. All is one. And remember the words of Jesus, you are in me as I am in the Father. The Father and I are one. You cannot separate yourself from the goodness of God, and you cannot separate yourself from the rest of humanity. We are one. And our survival, our upliftment, our experience of life, for that to be positive, for that to be spiritual, is incumbent upon us remembering this very simple but profound truth. All is one. So my encouragement for you, dear friend, is that if you forget, the good news is there's always another day. All is one. If you forget, forgive yourself and try again. Forgive yourself and try again. We're on this. Each of us is on an individual spiritual journey, intimately connected to the whole. So as we have this intention to remember all is one, we know that the world will change for the better. One person, one soul, one moment, one conversation at a time. So we do thank you, dear friend, for joining us today. As always, we're honored. We are blessed that you share your journey with us. Blessings on the journey, dear friend.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey, presented by Supportek Staffing. This channel is also made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2021 CynthiaAliceanderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.